It is a pleasure to open this event on the smart nations and cities after COVID-19. My name is Marco Camilla, and I'm a senior economist with the Knowledge and Innovation branch of UN Habitat. Thanks to mission-oriented think tank working on public policies and to the senior specialists on policy, the Academy and the young entrepreneurs from Spain, China, and Singapore participating in this panel. This event is part of the global conversation activities of the Observatory of Public Sector Innovation, led by the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development and supported by the European Commission. For UN Habitat, which is the agency working on sustainable urbanization and leading the implementation of the new urban agenda and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, especially Sustainable Development Goals 11, thinking, designing, and preparing to implement and scale up solutions after the COVID-19 constitutes our priority. So let me start explaining why it is essential to have a global agenda on sustainable urban development. Most of the world is already urbanized, and it is projected that in the year 2050, almost 70% of the globe will be urban settlements. Urbanization, as the recently released World Cities Report 2020 indicates, generates value. But to capture those gains, cities require to adopt a multidisciplinary approach and strengthen the basis of what constitutes cities. Cities, through the power of urban agglomeration, attract talents, promote networks of people, produce ideas and innovation that propel entrepreneurship with startups and companies, creating jobs and growth through productivity and competitiveness. But at the same time, cities produce waste and pollution, requiring strong efforts to develop circular economies to promote environmental sustainability. Cities also produce segregation and overcrowding, which in part is to blame for the spread of the pandemic, which at the same time has made patent of the large population suffering from mental conditions and depression. In the middle and low-income countries with COVID-19, it is much more visible, the prevalence of slums and informal settlements, covering up to 30% of large metropolises across the world. Slums and informality are also connected with housing. More than 40% of the global population has no access to affordable housing and suffers from lack of basic services. If technology and capital are available in the world, perhaps the two more pressing problems that must be solved after COVID-19 are first, how to improve and aggregate slums, and second, how to provide proper housing and services. To address those problems, a global agenda is needed, as just advocacy and complaints are not enough, but efforts must be adequately funded, and funding is insufficient for many low-income countries and cities. Significant multilateral action is required, so the new urban agenda, a document approved by United Nations in 2016, provides guidelines for cities to achieve sustainable urbanization, and it is the role of civil society and public and private stakeholders to localize those recommendations, converting them into specific actions. So in this context, what is a smart city? A smart city is an urban area that applies technologies and sensors to collect data and improve public policies. It is the application of frontier technologies such as the Internet of Things, blockchain, big data, 3D printing to bring solutions to urban areas. But allow me to make a precision. Technologies are not by themselves the solutions for cities. In this regard, the new urban agenda recommends that for cities to achieve sustainable development, they need to have the fundamentals right. So this means to have proper urban planning, sound legal framework, and efficient urban finance. So the question is, what is the right place for technologies? Well, entrepreneurs and the private sector can find solutions to urgent urban issues. Technologies that offer solutions to pressing issues contribute to sustainable urbanization. For example, to improve the legal framework, participatory approaches data collected and digitized can inform city leaders on what aspects of legislation and governance is needed. A system that with GPS can register property and implement a cadastral system will reduce informality. On planning, artificial intelligence and spatial data can inform on urban sprawl, helping to contain them, or can tell us about where the city is suffering from segregation or overcrowding to fix them. In the same way, satellite information can help to improve traffic congestion, and in the future, the deployment of autonomous vehicles may decongest cities and metropolis. On urban finance, a technological solution that can collect taxes through remote devices that then be connected to proper electronic government systems can provide data in real time, helping local governments to plan for infrastructure and basic services with appropriate costs and revenues. Frontier technologies, such as with the additive manufacturing and 3D printing, are available to build houses and buildings with minimum waste in record time and are less expensive. This is more and more available in developing countries as the cost of 3D printers become affordable and the software templates are shared on the internet. At UN Habitat, for example, currently in a number of areas, we are designing and applying technologies to improve urban planning. For instance, we use remote devices to monitor and improve mobility. Adopt virtual reality to imagine the renewal of neighborhoods. Design public spaces using Minecraft in engaging communities in designing those specific public space. Create applications to show the extent of the pandemic and developing applications to map out the areas and streets where a vulnerable population or women feel unsafe, and to track women walking home at night to identify safety streets. So technologies can provide solutions, but there is an essential step for entrepreneurs to flourish, especially in the area of urban technologies. The first is the definition of the right ecosystem for entrepreneurs. Innovative spirits and persistence are inherent to young entrepreneurs. Still, some obstacles are always present. Funding is probably one of the most pressing, as investing in developing a prototype, creating a startup and produce and hiring people require financing in advance. So central and local governments must facilitate the process of financing ideas to allow them to scale up and nurture enterprises which eventually can become established companies. Alliances and coordination with universities is essential, as academic institutions are the ones who know the state of the art of science and technology and can provide global networks to local entrepreneurs to access inventions and discoveries. The second element is understanding the needs of cities. So this is the discovery of demand. Entrepreneurs can have their quest for ideas facilitated by surveys, interactions with the private and public sector, or merely organizing urban challenges. With hackathons, prize awards, and challenges, the demands and needs of cities can be better understood. And those becomes challenges that can be solved through frontier technologies and entrepreneurship. So it is in this area where UN Habitat, other UN agencies, and think tanks, academia, and civil society can cooperate, joining forces to identify the most pressing challenges in specific cities and count with the ingenuity and effort of the private sector to put together innovation and technologies, solving urban issues. So today, when we will hear about innovations designed by entrepreneurs from China, Singapore, and Spain, we invite you to identify the main challenges that cities face and think about the potential solutions so cities can confidently move to strengthening sustainable urbanization and achieving more inclusive, productive, and resilient places for the post-COVID-19 era that we hope is coming soon. So we wish you success in this effort. Thank you very much.